Hi, everybody. Today I'll be reading from Resting on My Laurels, which is a book that I released in 2018. This first poem is called Dust Storms May Exist. Down that panhandle highway through the Rainbow Division, past Podunk and into Gray County, we rolled along into Pampa Town just as a Woody song came around, stopping at Harris Drugs to have a look around. Mighty friendly folks were there to be found. We paid our respects at a peace memorial that shone so powerful just outside of Amarillo, down where the Cadillacs play, as Route 66 drifts into the prairie sun rays. A traveler asked for a lift to Albuquerque, but we had no room in our jalopy, so I handed him some change and watched the freight trains as they rode into the sunset, singing their sweet melodies. In the middle of nowhere, on a mountaintop highway, I listened to my favorite songster play. In awe I gazed, for perched upon the road, as clear as the day, sat the great Orion, greeting us as we climbed the horizon, passing moose and roadside attractions, until early morn we came crashing at a dirty old classic inn, sleeping as the neon lights went flashing. Come daybreak, we headed down the road, walked down white sandy dunes to loosen our load. The dust storm warning signs recited their poetry 5 times before we grumbled our way through immigration. Why can't a man travel freely in his own nation? This poem is called Orion. Orion, oh Orion, my faithful companion, favorite constellation. I have gazed at you lying in Oklahoma gutters as a child lazing in the back seat of a car amid the farmland highways of Texas, on journeys here and there and far, from the mountains of New Mexico to wandering wine country roads, peeking beneath the wintry clouds, quiet and humble, drunk and loud. You remain a twilight guardian to this old soul since a young'un. In the clear, crisp night you remain, and I know I shall upon thee gaze again, your starry belt and hourglass figure, as you fight the night with rigor. I suppose, with my given name, Diana, it was so fated that for me your stars would shine the greatest. As I wander this earth, it seems there you're waiting. This poem is called Afflatus. What life is this, sweet self-indulgent bliss? A respite for my toils, relaxed mind open to the thoughts golden of poets of old, who stir my weary soul. To the persistent go the spoils. Keep sight of your dreams as they peak upon the horizon, tethering your disparate notions like a maypole in a hurricane, a whirlwind of color never to be contained. Verse is the exhaling of experience inhaled. Chase novelty, lest your head be caked with the dust of comfort. Ingest the words of those whom inspiration has touched, and soon thy muse may knock upon the door of your heart. May you be open to receiving. This poem is called Occupational Hazards. You wouldn't ask an interior designer to be a coal miner. You wouldn't ask a birthday clown to save you when you drown. You wouldn't ask a car mechanic to operate on you when you get sick. You wouldn't ask your electrician to be your child's pediatrician. You wouldn't ask your fitness trainer to fly you in an airplane, sir. You wouldn't ask a 3-year-old to light your furnace when it gets cold. You wouldn't ask a lyricist to be your pharmacist. You wouldn't ask your mayor to act as your tailor. You wouldn't ask an archaeologist to be your neurologist. You wouldn't ask a mediator to come repair your radiator. So don't ask this wordsmith to be your therapist. This last poem is called That Which the Realtor Cannot Itemize. I stood on the bed, staring out the window at the Brandenburg ruins. The radiator clanged, and I put my cold feet against the warm metal as I turned the radio dials, searching for music between the whirring static. In the room upstairs, I'd sit on black leather chairs that often made farting noises when I shifted positions, and the beige seat cushions would occasionally tumble down onto the green carpet. I once put the fuzzy orange pillow from the leather couch on my head like a troll's hair. I tasted a sip of bitter champagne as a sleepy child awakened by friendly laughter. I remember the smell of ladies' hair treatments and men's cologne, and the piles of gray hairs on the floor by the salon chair, as I scooted past customers in waiting to go downstairs for breakfast. I remember Opa pinching my cheeks, calling me his sweetheart. I remember dining on pickled herring, brötchen, quark, muesli, and leberwurst, eating Oma's cheesecake with mandarin oranges, and drinking hot tea with saccharin in the kitchen. I dropped toy parachutes from the stairs and used the alabaster ashtrays as a ramp for the toy skateboarders that had hatched from chocolate eggs. I reclined on the fringed rug in the living room, watching television in a language that I would slowly come to understand. Once I walked barefoot on that same rug and got a toothpick stuck in my foot. I fell down the basement stairs, bruising my nose, twice. I recall going to the basement to retrieve tubs of ice cream from the freezer as verse dangled nearby like looped garland. I remember how the butcher sold meat whose slices smiled. I once wanted to open up an ice cream shop after fixing family sundaes, so I made an imaginary restaurant out of a cardboard box, complete with a menu, and stationed it on the landing between flights of stairs. Oma was a customer. When the train station was closed, we walked on the tracks, picked up small white snail shells from the black cobblestone streets. We crossed the tracks to go walking down the farm roads, passing by yellow fields, greeting sleeve-eating cows, and being shocked by the electric fences that guarded them. I remember traveling under the Woman Viaduct, gazing at its big red brick arches. I remember long walks in the forest and hiking up the mountains to explore castles and ruins. I remember the first time we walked the brand new footbridge to La Ruden for ice cream after reunification. The train station, too, reopened. Once it poured rain when we walked from the train station after a ride, and we were greeted by a rainbow that welcomed us home. I remember how tiny that one-car garage is for a big black Audi, pulling open the dungeon-like door and latching a big black hook. I once threw up Oma's cherry pie in the back seat of the car that often serenaded its passengers with polka and had no air conditioning. I remember sorting bottles by color for recycling, returning cases of empty mineral water bottles for reuse, saving bath water and using it to flush the toilets, unplugging the television during thunderstorms, and the giant green barrel of rainwater that we used to water the garden. At the playground, I made mud sculptures with a water pump and sand. And as I slid down the slide, I lost one shoe that landed in a patch of four-leaf clovers, some of which we plucked and pressed into books for safekeeping. I read free comic books published by the bank and drew cartoons with chalk all over the front sidewalk. I remember the driving schools and hair salons that rented space downstairs. I remember eating fresh cherries from the trees across the street. I recall marveling that the house beside us was built in the 1800s. The gray granite tile on the front staircase was cold as I sat down on the stairs, watching Frau Kaiser working in her garden. I danced in the streets as they gushed with floodwaters, retrieving floating hubcaps lost by passing cars. I remember wandering the gravel sidewalks in the cemetery, filling large green watering cans and pitching flowers into the compost. Maybe on their own, feather pillows, orange clay roof tiles, skylights that open to the heavens, and specific brands of nougat are inherently meaningless, because you may just see a house, but I remember home. Although I know it is not true for all my relations, I only have happy memories of this location, due to several childhood summer vacations to what was our home within a different nation. I hope the next family that resides there experiences such a warm sensation. If those walls at number 39 could describe 94 years, they'd say, it started with a train station and lasted for generations. Thank you very much. You can find the book as an ebook online or order the paperback version from your local bookstore. It's called Resting on My Laurels. Have a great day.